Today I'm going to work with some abstraction and trying some new techniques. So first thing I have is an old good RX credit card. I went and got a knife out of my kitchen. I have a little squirt bottle, a mister. I have salt, of course. And let's see, what else do I have here? I have a dropper. And I did go and get a couple of plastic containers that I could pour paint into. And but I might, instead of pouring, just use this dropper. It's a little easier. So those are my primary tools that I plan to use. I'll possibly spatter. I'll possibly end up using one of my micron pens. And I do have a straw in case I feel like blowing paint. So I'm pretty well prepared. And I'm excited about trying something new. But I'm going to try out more of a limited palette because I think that's easier for demo purposes. Okay, so, all right, so I have my cling wrap. I'm going to get something going so that I can, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. So here's my big thing of cling wrap. And I'm going to start with just doing a wash in the foreground of some of these beautiful dark textures. And I think just for purposes of creating a really dark tone, I'll go ahead and use some Prussian blue. Is Prussian blue a staining color?
Yes, it stains.
Oh, so maybe I better be a little bit careful with that. So for that reason, I'll start with cobalt blue and burnt sienna. Let's sit here so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, Tim, I wanted to share, I haven't really had a chance to look at what you said you set up your palette, but I really want to see that. So remind me if you have that handy. I want to have you show that to people before the end of class. Now I'm putting in some burnt sienna. So what happens when you mix cobalt blue or ultramarine blue and burnt sienna is you get a nice dark. It's almost a gray, but you can tint it cool or warm depending upon whether you put more burnt sienna or more cobalt or ultramarine in it. So I've got this mixed up. I'm going to start with the usual, which is that I'm going to start with a wash of the lighter values and the lighter colors. So what I'm seeing up here, I'm not going to do a drawing first because I want it to be more abstract. I'm going to lay in some water, and it does have a little blue on it just because I was using the brush to mix. So this is the waterfall area. And I'm going to drop in some color at the top. This is cobalt. And then I'm going to use some viridian as it comes down. And a little bit of a more of a yellowish green too over here on the side. So a little bit of lemon yellow in here. Gonna wet some of the side here. Drop in some Prussian. And then the combination that I have here of the cobalt and burnt sienna.
It does look almost black.
Yeah, doesn't it? It's amazing. This is a little bit of the Prussian here. I'm spraying slightly here where I want it to drip a bit. No, I want to have some warms in there too, so I'm gonna, this is just burnt sienna. Come over to the other side.
Please repeat what color you're using.
Some Prussian blue, but a mixture of ultramarine or cobalt blue and burnt sienna.
Lower left. That's beautiful.
This is Prussian on this side right now. Now I've got to mix up a little bit more of the cobalt and burnt sienna. Just for fun, let's do this where we blow with a straw.
Et voila, a tree.
Yeah, and easy as pie. Donna, you inspired me with your blossoms and you and Yana. I had to do it.
That was a fun one. I actually did a little bit with a rigger after I blew with the straw.
Oh, neat.
And that was a wash of blue, pink, and yellow in the background.
Oh, okay. Now I'm mixing up some cobalt and rose madder genuine because I want a violet, and I'm using the transparents. And I want to put that in here too, in some places, because I see some violets and I want to get some different colors on one side. I need to put some on this side too, just so it's not just in one spot. But I thought something going, and I think I need a little bit more up in here. Maybe a little bit of green while I still have the wetness. And here I'll use a little sap green because sap green is a little bit brighter. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try my plastic wrap now. I'm going to pull it and push it so that I get some areas that are darker than others. I forgot to put my microphone back on.
We can hear you.
I don't think you need it.
I don't know. I'm just going to try it and see if it makes a difference in the recording. Okay. So I don't know if it's actually not seeing darker lines. I wanted to see some darker lines. It may not work as well on this side. Let's see.
What was the brush you were using?
The brush, it was a number 24.
Great big fat brush.
Yeah. Okay, now what I'm going to do is get some heavy books and put on top of it. And hope that it dries, but it's so humid right now. I don't know if it will. So excuse me a minute, I'll be right back. Okay, so now here's my pad of paper, my Canson pad. Cheaper paper, but perfectly okay for experimenting. And I think on this one, I'll work with the seascape, the one that, let me find that image. Oh, that's not the right one. Let me see, where is that one? Oh, this is a one-man tree to God. I think it's from the internet. And it's the one with the colorful sky and the tall palm trees. So I guess I'll rely upon you to get that from what I sent you. And remember, I'm not going to keep looking at it for a long time. It's just to get started. First thing I will do is tape my paper. I'll tape the edges.
So Sylvia, what is the weight of the paper?
I think it's, let me look and see. Hold on, I don't know for sure. It's 140 pound.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So it won't really, I mean, it's going to wrinkle up. Obviously, it's going to buckle because I was going to do some pouring. But it'll probably, would be better if I was taping it to a board, but I don't have one. So, I mean, maybe I could have taped it to my easel, but I want to be able to pick it up and move it around. So it's an experiment. It's not something that has to be perfect. This is primarily just to encourage everyone to try something new. So with that in mind, I really should have gotten a different palette because it's a little different. I'll use my other palette that I have for quinacridone colors for the warms. And that's this one. All right. So I want to do the credit card thing. So I'm going to get my credit card and start with that. And I'm going to start with, I'll go ahead and start with a big flat brush. So this is one of my bigger flat brushes. And I'll wet the sky. And the water. But I'm leaving some dry in the center. And now I'm going to get a blob of viridian. Some viridian is a kind of a blue-green. Best thing would be if I had some right out of it too. So let me see if I see it. Cobalt, well. Okay, here's some viridian. The reason I say that is wet paint is going to spread and be more concentrated. So I'm going to put it on here, actually. Oh, it's a dried up tube. Okay, well, change of mind. This is phthalo green. And then I have some phthalo blue. Which are going to be pretty bright, but let's see what happens.
Well, the color that is marketed as viridian hue is often phthalo, so very close.
Okay.
Or phthalo with a yellow in it.
Yeah. Speaking of yellow, I want some yellow also. So here's some transparent yellow. Here's my good RX card, so I'm going to just dab some in here. Oops, I don't get enough on there, I guess. Well, it's dry paper. So now I'll take this.
That looks so cool already.
Kind of neat just to see what happens, huh?
Yeah,
I love it.
Now I'm going to wet this up here again because I want it to flow.
Did you say you put a phthalo blue in there
Yes,
and phthalo green?
yeah. And transparent yellow.
Great combo.
Okay, now what I want to do is get some of these blues going here too, so. See if I can mix up a bunch of that. And use my eyedropper. I need something that's a little darker. I said I was going to use a limited palette, but I can't. I have to add some orange.
It's still pretty limited.
Yeah, so far.
Did you say you were going to follow the photograph or not?
Well, I said I wasn't, but I'm sort of doing it, at least for this part.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it away when I get to a certain point.
I think it's amazing already.
It sure is fun. Okay, I have to do something about this side up here. So I think I should go get my hair dryer now. And why not sprinkle a little salt on too? I'm using the credit card just to scrape a little before I dry it. Okay, it might be dry enough for me at least to do something else on it now. Not quite ready to put the photo away. I wanted to get the effect of the palm trees. So let's see, how can I do that? So now I'm going to come back in and mix up even a darker color with my burnt sienna and my ultramarine blue. This is where, you know, if you have an eyedropper with some ink, you might be able to do something with that too, because that would be a nice, really black. Let me do some soft spray here. Okay. Well, this is making it too thick.
My dog heard your cat meow.
His ears perked up.
Oh, she's up and at him, wondering where that sound came from.
Yeah. Well, there are plenty of those sounds here at my house. I got paint all over my hand because I didn't pay attention to the paint that was on this card. So now this is definitely a staining color. Okay, so let's see here. What do I want now? So it might be a good time for me to not look at the photo anymore and just look at my painting and see what I feel like doing. So at this point, this is hard for me because I'm so used to being tied to reference of some kind. But I feel like I need to come in now with some lines to make it look like it's the water.
You know, Sylvia, the reason you're a fabulous instructor is because you're never afraid to say, this is hard for me.
Oh, good, thank you. Yeah, I'm the first to admit, I'm one of those people that thinks, well, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. Surely I can do it too. And then I get started and I think, maybe it's a little harder than I thought.
Well, I was almost going to suggest to you to grab a wide brush, but I'm glad you didn't.
Oh, well, that would probably make it go faster.
So all those tree trunks you just pulled down from paint, right? With a credit card?
Yeah,
Cool.
it'd be nice to see what happens though if I scrape back in. Maybe I can get some lighter values too. So see what happens if I scrape because this is still pretty wet. Or maybe even with, you know, when it dries with a knife. Okay, I want to do more with the sky also. And I think I'm gonna put a
Well,
little,
they're definitely reading his palm trees already.
good. They need a little more of a ragged, rougher edge, but I'm gonna put a little bit of opera in here. Okay. I want to do some spatter. So I like doing spatter with these brushes that are somewhat sawed off. That would have been a good way to make a palm tree. That was the coarse salt I just sprinkled on. Might not do anything though.
It's got a little bit of a Bernie Fuchs atmospheric quality to me.
Oh, that reminds me, yeah, of him. That's really neat.
I was thinking of Westway magazine covers and so on.
Oh, yeah. And this has a little bit of a smoother surface, which gives that effect too. Okay, I'm going to take a look now at my other painting and see what's going on with it. Let's see, wait, I've got to soften some edges here. Well, before I do that, one more thing I think I need to add over here. It's a little bit of a darker tone. Okay. It hasn't been long enough, I'm sure, for this, but I don't have a lot of time, so.
Can you use the hair dryer on top of the
I'm gonna try.
plastic wrap?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Actually, it's looking like it did do something. Look at that.
Wow.
Wow.
It's pretty neat, huh?
Really great.
Okay. Well, this is the best one I've done so far with this technique. Now what I want to do is I do want to look at the photo again. And just take a look at what I love about the photo to see where I need to enhance things here. And what I'm seeing in the photo is that there's really light waterfall here, and then there's a lighter cliff back here. So I'm going to do some painting of this cliff back here, and then do some negative space painting to make this foreground area stand out. I don't think I'm going to do a lot to this part that has the texture because I like it so much. I'll just see what I can do to enhance what I have. Any suggestions when you look at this?
Nope.
Okay. I also like the colors. They're somewhat subtle as opposed to the one I just worked on. So it's good to have a little separation between the palettes.
The colors are great.
Okay, so now I'm looking at this cliff back here and it's kind of, I want it to be more in the receding area. So I'm going to clean my palette a little because what I have here is pretty dark. And I'm going to go with it's a little bit of a green or blue green. So I'm using some Viridian and some cobalt. I also have some manganese. I don't know if you ever work with manganese, but it's kind of a neat color.
It's hard to get true manganese anymore. I have some very old manganese I discovered on my palette, and I'm glad I have it.
Yeah.
Pretty unique.
Is that because it's considered toxic or what?
No, it was a rare metal,
Oh, okay,
aircraft alloys and stuff.
I see.
I have
But I
some
think-
really old too.
I think Rublev, I think you can get, there's a company called Rublev that you can get colors that are otherwise difficult to get.
Mhm. So this is combination of the manganese and a little bit of the gray that I had mixed up with the burnt sienna and ultramarine. I'm looking at the shape of the waterfall. And painting around the shape. Making it lighter as it comes down into the mist. And now on the other side, I also see a shape like that. There's a little bit of greenery here on the back here behind. Now I'm getting some darker tones. With my burnt sienna mixture. Cobalt, but it's got some warmth in it. It has the burnt sienna. down toward the bottom, I want to get a little bit of violet in the mix. Okay, so still with some of that violet I've got going on down there, I'm putting in a cliff on this side. Where these rays of light that are coming across. Now with the warmer tones, I'm doing the rocks in the foreground. Maybe darker.
Are you using a different brush for each color?
No. I just, I don't have that kind of a mind.
Ah.
I just pick up the size that I want and not worry about the color.
Mhm.
Especially when I'm working with these darker colors.
Almost looks like it has an oriental influence.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? It's Yana's fault for introducing us to that. Remember that whatever's in the foreground area, if you want it to have come forward, add a little warmer tone to the color. I'm using sap green right now. Okay, the main thing now is for me to bring out this cliff here on this side and to help to define, I mean, you know, I guess I need to come back in with more here too, just to separate it, but I'm gonna try not to paint too much of what I did with the plastic wrap. That's my goal. So maybe if I do, if I look at the places like in the demo we watched where she looked at some of the shapes created by the plastic wrap. And then this is where it might help not to look at the photo.
Yeah, you're doing it. You know, what else you're doing that's working is you're eliminating the white negative spaces and just keeping the white where you want the streaking light and the waterfall and so on.
That's what I'm hoping, yeah, that I'll follow through with that. Okay, so over to this side. Have to make a little bit of a transition, but I don't want to lose the texture either, so. Okay, I see another tree back there now that I want to try to put in a little more definition in this area. So I'm going to start coming back up into this area. Need to get my other brush that's skinnier. this wonderful brush I got not long ago. I love it. It's the number 6, the Princeton Velvet Touch Bright. Now I'm going to hold my brush like this so that I don't get too tight with it. I don't think you can really see that, but I'm trying to not use it as a pencil, but more as a twig.
Yeah, we can see it. It looks great.
Okay. And I'm doing some negative space painting just to indicate that there's some grasses in this foreground area on the top of this ridge. Okay, now I'm going to come back in and paint a little dark here. Give a little of the opposite effect.
Is that about an 8 by 10?
No.
Oh, no, that's a quarter sheet.
Yeah, it's a quarter sheet.
Okay. Yeah, I see you've got it in your frame.
Yes. Okay, I need to create a little bit more focus or contrast in this area. So I probably shouldn't look at the photo right now because I might just try to follow it instead of using my, what I know. So I'll go ahead and deprive myself of that. So now if I don't look at that, now I think, okay, maybe I can do something on this side too. That's a little more interesting. it does limit you some if you have a photo because you keep referring to it and it interferes with your own design sense. Okay, I'm going to introduce a little bit of a warm tone up in here. I'm going to spray it first. I don't think you can see it very well. It's very light opera. Now I'm going to put some in the foreground too, because I want to carry it through. This has a little bit of orange in it here. I know it needs something else in here. Does anybody have any ideas? I think I need to tie some of this together.
Without referring to the photo?
Without referring to it.
Oh,
Or maybe I should look at it.
might not hurt.
Maybe some of those lines like you've got on the right in the background to define a little more,
Like this,
down to the left a little bit.
like this.
Yeah, up in there, the blue ones.
Yeah.
Water lines.
Define it a little bit more stronger.
Just a little, not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Maybe
Not too dark.
Is that too dark?
Well, it's kind of dry lighter, so who knows?
I'd blot it just a tiny bit, but
Yeah,
that's just me.
I appreciate that because I don't.
Yeah, you want to get the sense of the receding distance,
Right,
lighter as it recedes.
like it's not connected enough.
Lighter is better.
And then maybe a few like branch or leaves and stuff up here.
Yeah, even that, just a mass tone, a generalized mass tone.
Mhm. Because we want the eye to be directed to the center area. And now this looks funny. Let me look at the photo. Yeah, I'm going to stop pretty soon with this and look at the other one, but I also want to give you all a chance to show what you're working on and look at the voice thread. So. All right.
What
One
is the,
thing.
what is the brand of the brush you're using? It's so soft.
Yeah, this, I guess, was it this one that I just used? Oh, it's so old that the brand is rubbed off.
Oh, it's a rub-off brush. Okay.
Synthetic. And I think I bought it from my friend Howard Reese, so I could ask him what kind was it, Howard? But yeah, it's one of those synthetics and it holds a shape too, even though it is soft.
Exactly.
Well,
Okay.
will you kindly post your paintings to VoiceThread afterwards? I'm going to have to leave a little early today and I really want to be able to study them. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I will. Oh, one question before I stop on this. Does it look like this needs some darker tones in this area?
Yes, I think so, a little bit.
Yeah,
And I think you could also just put in a couple of little dots of bright green for the kind of little plants that grow on rocks.
yeah, you mean on this side?
Yeah, just little, well, just, the way little plants grow in cliff crevices.
Yeah.
If there were just a couple of little dabs here and there, it would look pretty cool.
Also, I might do some spatter.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, let me get some
Yeah,
spatter.
spatter's better than over delineating, I think.
Yeah,
You could also think about not having that one line of the waterfall so straight. It is catching my eye too much. It is very, very straight. Yeah.
oh yeah, maybe soften some edges.
It just wouldn't be that straight in nature. It would be sort of, in an,
Okay. Oh dear, I had some paint on this brush.
I mean, the left side of it. The left side of it is very contrasted.
Oh, are you talking about this side?
No,
Sorry, the other side, my left.
Yeah,
The very edge of that rocky thing is so straight. The whole thing.
the very edge of the waterfall or the rock?
I'm not sure. The rock, I guess, could be the rock. Way over towards the middle. Anyways, just a suggestion.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused, but I do see that it would be helpful if I put something else up here. Got to keep me from noodling, you guys.
Well, it depends on how much force of water there is as to whether it falls straight or not.
I think I'll do a little bit of spatter with some white, like it's spraying.
Right. And it also depends on whether the back of the waterfall has been eaten out, which can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
We used to go to a falls up in the Cascades where it just fell straight down from, I don't know, 100 feet up, because over the years, the back had been kind of hollowed out.
Was that Snoqualmie Falls?
No, it was called Rainbow Falls, and it was up in Stehekin at the head of Lake Chelan.
Oh, yeah, I never did make it over there.
Gorgeous. But Snoqualmie Falls is fabulous. Snoqualmie Falls, my memory is you wind up at the top of it and looking down. The falls in Stehekin Valley, you're usually at the bottom looking up.
Oh, yeah. I like the spatter.
That really adds a lot to it. It's kind of amazing.
Isn't that funny? Just a little thing like that. Now I
Yeah.
have some gouache here with green, and I'm gonna spatter some of that on here. I should use a little more spatter technique.
Love it. Thank you.
Maybe a little over here too.
is that wet or wet or?
All right. So I'll put this one aside. Bring this one back. And It's so bright, you know. Kind of bothers me, that brightness. I think what I'll do, because I like the warmth in the orangey color on this other, on the photo, I'm going to come in with my big brush and do a little bit of a glaze in this area.
Give it the old JMW Turner treatment.
Yeah. And now I'll come back with a little more, some zigzags. Oh, and there's also some really wonderful like waves. I'm going to use some gouache on that. Well, I need to make separate like the horizon line over here. So now that it's drier, I can come back in here with a tone. I am looking at the photo, by the way. I couldn't help it.
Well, you're improving it.
I think it needed it. So some of these diagonals. Okay, now let me get that gouache out. Okay. All right, stop me. I probably better stop.
That looks great, Sylvia. It's so pretty.
Let me just see if I can dry off part of this. I wanted to take the tape off, but I think it's still too wet. And this type does sometimes tear my paper. I'll just try it on the side. Oh, it might be okay. It's the artist tape. What do you think of that credit card technique?
I like
I
it.
like watching you do it.
Looked like fun, Sylvia.
You know what it does? It just makes you feel more abstract when you start that way. It gives you permission when you go radical like that to do something even more bizarre. Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera. Let me see. It says eject the hub. Well, hey, it says it wasn't ejected properly and I didn't even turn the camera off yet. So I don't know. Okay.